Blake, how could you?
Toby, how could I not?
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, a man who can't resist pushing the emergency button, and I'm here with my co-host who starts his day by pulling the emergency lever every morning, Toby Walters.
What if we had an eject seat in our podcast studio?
We would never get anything done because you and I would just eject each other every single time.
Would we go through the roof and what do we wear, parachutes?
I'm wearing a helmet to start.
Yeah, you eject through the roof. We're immediately dead.
That is how I go. Toby's playing a prank and I'm just dead instantly.
Yeah. So, Blake, sometimes our podcast listeners don't know what actually ends up on the cutting room floor.
I don't think I do either.
So Blake, do you want to confess what happened? We released an episode with a flub that should not have been released.
Yeah, I said a very intentionally bad word on a podcast thinking, this will be funny when I bleep it. And I even had Reese send me the second version because I forgot to bleep it, and he bleeped it for me. And then we went on our retreat, and I was tired, and I forgot.
So is it kind of like, you know how sports cards go out with the errors and then before they catch them at the manufacturer, and then those errors are worth like a ton of money. So if you caught that flub episode before you replaced it with a clean version, is that like that?
So does that mean we owe everyone a bunch of money when they caught it? Because this is going to get expensive.
So Blake, I've decided because of that flub that I'm going to replace you with AI. And so
this is a good decision.
I know. I went to the SALT conference this year, and so I started walking the vendor hall to see what kind of new technology is out there. And I found a very smart person that's going to help me with replacing you with AI Blake. And AI Blake never makes mistakes, which is amazing.
I think, though, that mistakes are what make podcasts funny, so this might be tough.
We'll find out. So what I did is just proof of concept. I did an episode without you. So I know.
You cheated on me.
I know.
You infidelity.
Well, is it cheating on you if I just don't have a co-host? If I just do it all myself?
Yes.
Okay.
Solo podcasting is cheating.
So thankfully at SALT, I found an expert in AI, our friend Kenny Jahng. And so he and I had a really fun conversation just how AI tools could help church production, and especially those doing podcasts with idiots, to replace them with virtual idiots, I guess.
So now it's a race to see who can replace the other with AI first.
Yeah. So should we go to the tape? Hey, everybody. I am here at the SALT conference, and we are live-ish because this doesn't come out live, but yeah, this is, if you're not at SALT or you don't know what SALT is, it's a church conference for church creatives. So audio, video, and lighting creatives, but, a lot more in the creative space as far as content creation and media and all that sort of fun stuff. And we are here with our friend Kenny Jahng.
Yes, how are you?
Say that correct?
Yes,
okay.
Glad to be here. And I love our studio audience in front of us here, live-ish at SALT Conference.
Well, we do have Matt Grove sitting in the corner from Resi, and he doesn't seem to be paying attention at all, but he is here at least.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Kenny, tell us real quick just what you're doing here, what you're teaching on.
This week at SALT, we are talking about AI, the great topic that has taken over the media by storm, and trying to translate it to what does it mean for churches, for ministry? How do they use it? What is it good for? What is it not good for?
Okay. And I'm excited to jump into that topic as far as it relates to production leaders.
Yes.
One thing we do to kind of get every episode started is we do 5 truths and a lie. And usually they are provided by the guest, but because we are talking about AI, I decided to ask ChatGPT for 5 truths and a lie about Kenny Jahng. So I am going to read them, and then you have to guess which one is the lie, but you can't
Let's
look.
go.
Don't look, Kenny. Okay, number 1, Kenny has a black belt in karate.
Ooh.
Number 2, he has a pet turtle named Speedy.
That might be true.
Yep. He was once a contestant on a TV game show.
Okay.
He is a certified scuba diving instructor.
That sounds believable.
Yep. He is an award-winning chef specializing in Italian cuisine. And finally, he has climbed 7 of the highest mountain peaks in the world.
Well, Well, I would. So I have to reveal which ones. Are you going to guess or?
No, this is all you. You have to guess which one is a lie since ChatGPT created it for you.
I think the first one is a lie.
That you have a black belt in karate?
Correct.
Well, I'm sorry, my friend, you are incorrect. So apparently you do have a black belt in karate, which we'll look forward to a demonstration later. But the lie is that you're an award-winning chef specializing in Italian cuisine. It's actually you specialize in Cajun cuisine.
Quack, 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 quack.
Yep. So, congratulations, Kenny.
I love it. I love it. I love it when ChatGPT hallucinates.
Yes. Okay, so we're talking about AI for church production. That's a big statement. So, Kenny, tell us a little bit about your background and what makes you qualified to talk on this subject.
Well, I've always been involved with technology. I've been a partner in a venture catalyst with startup companies and have always loved the digital side of ministry. When I was a church online pastor, the question that always that we were struggling and wrestling with is, how do we use these digital tools that we have today available in the marketplace and translate them into ministry so that we can meet some of these objectives that we have in the church for community formation, for discipleship, for worship, for communications. Like what are those equivalents to from the offline to the online world? And so it's just been a progression, and AI is the latest innovation front that we've experienced.
Okay, and do you know enough about AI to explain just a little bit of what it is? Is it alive? Can it launch nuclear weapons like the Terminator is warning us about?
So first of all, let me just say, in the presentation I gave today, I shared one of our URLs for a platform called AIforchurchleaders.com. And at the end, someone came up to me and said, "Who's Al?" in the URL. So
whoops.
Now I have to buy Al for churchleaders.com as well and redirect it. But I think from the last 2-3 years, I've been increasingly involved with AI tools. ChatGPT came on the scene in November of 22. So the last 2 years or so in particular, we've seen this latest flavor of AI called generative AI, which basically is a nerdy way to just say, hey, you put stuff in and it comes out with brand new stuff. Instead of just computing things, instead of doing the Brainiac stuff like the IBM AI Watson stuff where it just plays chess with you, now AI can create and generate new things for you. And so I've been experimenting with over 100 different AI tools over the last 2 years. And so that's been a wild journey of learning and also inspiration. It's been a really good eye-opening and a challenge to translate, again, how do we use what God has given us in this technology to do good for the kingdom and give him glory.
Okay, so our listener base is a lot of production people, some worship people as well, and they might be thinking, okay, yeah, I've heard of these tools, but they don't really apply to me. Maybe we can remove that stigma today. What are some helpful ways in which production leaders can do things better using AI? Maybe in volunteer scheduling or training people or reading the manual.
Yeah. I mean, just those are the parts of the job that production people love, right? Sitting down and spending hours trying to figure out schedules for volunteers and stuff like that. Well, a very recent use case. We had a church that came to us and we helped them build an optimized schedule for their volunteers for I think it was like a 90-day schedule.
Okay.
And so basically they just surveyed their people of what are your preferences of dates of service, which Sundays can you not actually serve because, I have a wedding or I have to travel or a doctor's appointment, whatever it is. And then we also profiled all the roles and the skills. And so we asked the chatbot to look at the spreadsheet and say, hey, I want you to fill in these roles. And then we gave it some requirements. So things like, hey, we cannot schedule a volunteer more than 3 weeks in a row. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you want to give them a break. You don't want them to burn out.
Yeah.
Not that in offline world we ever do that, right? Because when you actually raise your hand and volunteer for a church, we tend to just schedule you for the next 322 years straight, right?
Absolutely.
So this is where we said, hey, to the chatbot, we want to reinforce healthy boundaries. And so 3 weeks in a row is the max. Respect when they want time off. and give them preferences for the roles that they want, because a lot of volunteers can do multiple roles. And so it assigned it all. And guess what? Out of it came, I think there were 6 Sundays that they had 1, 2, or 3 roles that were missing. Like they didn't have enough people.
Yeah.
And so immediately the eyes opened to that church leader, because they were able to think, oh, now I know exactly what type of volunteer roles I need to recruit for, instead of doing an all volunteer push.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot of energy and effort, and then you have to list everything and you have to go through it, right? Now you can say, hey, we have these 3 roles, we need them. And you can also then look for the people in the current roles, ask them for friends and family, have an open house. There's all these things that you can do, and be much more strategic with your volunteer recruiting.
Yeah.
So it helped them with the scheduling, which is great, because everyone got their preferences, etc. But then the secondary unintended consequence of that conversation was, wow, now we know how to recruit. And I think every leader in the production space that needs to work with volunteers could appreciate that specific use case.
Yeah. Can it, so as far as scheduling, can AI be set up where it will check in on people like, hey, I noticed you haven't responded to your planning center invitation. Can you go ahead and check yes, no, maybe anything?
Yeah. So there's this, it's a yes and no answer, I think, to that. I don't think there are any tools out there that does that, especially hooked up to Planning Center. I think there are many entrepreneurs in the space. For example, I just came back from an AI hackathon where over 250 leaders came together, entrepreneurs, coders, business people, ministry leaders, and they broke up into 40 teams, and they're trying to innovate and create solutions like that. And I think you're going to see an acceleration of problem solving for things just like that. But right now in today's world, I don't think you have those solutions. I will say, here's the other caveat, in the real world, the marketplace, in the last quarter alone, I think over 1,000 AI specific apps were launched.
Okay.
And so we talk about this stuff in terms of velocity.
Yeah.
The speed at which things are happening is really fast. And so it's almost, we were at the point where if you can dream it, you can make it.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to start to see solutions like that. And it just needs us to articulate the problems as leaders, to be able to expose them, what our preferences are, what we need, so that those that are the makers, the creators, can actually solve those problems with us.
Yeah. Okay. How about volunteer training? I know that isn't necessarily the favorite part of the job for production leaders. They're often like, here, watch these MXU videos and then do it. How can AI help production leaders train their people? Yeah,
so those video libraries are great, but a lot of times it's not context specific, or there's always like caveats like, hey, we're using some of their equipment, but not all their equipment, or we do it differently in this room versus that room, right? There's all these caveats. And so now what we've seen is instances where if you do training, whether it's live in person, you have a camera on them, or Zoom, because a lot of people are volunteering and they're checking in after work or on the weekends, and you need flexible training. So just that Zoom training alone, we'll record it, and then you can have it transcribed, you can have it organized, you could have a procedural document made step by step by step. Now you can actually ping most of the chatbots to talk about specific equipment and configurations and software. Treat me as a complete beginner, talk me through step by step, and create that tutorial document. And then we now have AI presentation design software, which is quite amazing. So what you can do is you can ask ChatGPT or Claude or any of these chatbots to synthesize all this training material into clear and easy to understand slide deck format, copy it into one of these AI design software, and it will produce amazing, beautiful, instant PDF, PowerPoint slides for you.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you have a recording of the video, you have a transcript, you have summarized notes, you have a PDF that's step by step, and you have a beautiful document that summarizes it in a presentation format. You can now see how that is put into a library, like a wiki, and you do that over and over again. So it's a reminder for people that have gone through it and haven't gone through it recently. If you're shifting roles and going to a new role, you don't need someone to actually, schedule time to walk you through. You can go through that material, context specific. And then for new volunteers that come through the system, you now have a training library to give them a sequence of content that you can drip over 1 week or something like that, and get them up to speed on some of the core basic foundational stuff. So there's tons of things like that that is available in today's world.
And how about, there are some production people out there that we refer to as super nerds that love to read the manual.
Yes.
Are there AI tools now to help those non-super nerds get the information they need without reading the whole manual?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think a lot of the stuff is so easy to produce. So for example, Google has a tool called Notebook LM that you can upload up to 50 documents, and then it will create a briefing document and you can ask it questions. So all of a sudden you have a help desk that you can actually create for any new volunteer, someone who's not technical, that doesn't want to read all the documents, but just wants to ask how to get things done. You now have a chatbot that can be trained on up to 50 documents that could be huge PDF files. It could be MP3 files. It really is now at our disposal to be able to create basically a custom help desk for any function that production has in their department.
What are some human roles that you see AI potentially replacing in the production world, so people know who's coming for them?
I think as the tools evolve, that answer is going to change. I will say this: I was just talking to a large megachurch in Nashville, and what they were talking about is their budget and line item has changed for their freelancers and the headcount of their staff. Mm-hmm. So, for example, they have pretty much eliminated all costs associated for hiring copywriters and editors to review their content. They're using Grammarly, they're using Claude, they're using AI tools to do that, right? So that you don't need a human to just detect, oh, you're writing in passive voice. It would be stronger in active voice and all that kind of stuff. What the upside is, and this is the strategic part of it that I love, is they're saying we are able to shift our budget to hire people that is in the higher value places, which is capture. Mm-hmm. So we can hire more videographers and content editors and producers that actually can capture testimonials and stories and things like that. That is really much better and more dynamic for a church if they're able to capture a wider variety of those things and actually popularize them, et cetera. So you're going to start to see the shift of the budgets and the head counts and all those things happen eventually. I think within the next 3 years, production teams are going to look quite different. Video editing in itself, I think, is going to change, where you're not going to need as many video editors at all.
Yeah.
We have initial software right now that will auto cut stuff for you, automatically insert B-roll for you.
Wow.
Do the punch in, punch outs, intros and outros. So there's all these things that are evolving that I think is going to alleviate the stress and the overwork that the constrained teams have. And then it opens up the budget and the time and the scheduling to do other things.
Yeah. What are some roles that you do not foresee AI coming for anytime soon?
Oh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I think I don't know if it's roles that's going to come after, but I think it's going to be tasks within roles.
Okay.
And I don't think anyone's immune to that. I think almost every job in the church has some relevance in terms of the question of how might AI do assist and help with any of the stuff that you're doing. So I think it varies widely, whether it's 10% of your role to 50% to 90% of a copywriter.
Yeah.
I think it really depends, but it definitely will come after the specific tasks for everybody, no matter what seat you sit in around the table.
And obviously, we're talking about technical leaders, and I think AI is going to get good at a lot of technical things, but AI is never going to be able to disciple your people. It's never going to be face-to-face with another human being and have empathy to develop human potential. And so I think, that's something that we talk about a lot on our podcast, is just the human side, knowing how to lead people and develop people. And so I think that'll become more and more.
I will say that assumption will be challenged, because you have right now personal AI agents and chatbots where people are developing relationships with, right? And so people want to marry their chatbot. There are influencers out there. So there's one woman that hit the news headlines last year where she's a very popular influencer. She cloned herself in terms of a chatbot and now is selling time with her in the chatbot on a per minute basis.
Wow.
And the projection is that she'll make over $1 million in this first year. And so, it is very good at simulating the context and human interactions, right? That's part of the upside and beauty of it. The downside is that we are not supposed to take it, at its true meaning in terms of like we are actually developing a relationship with these chatbots, but that's actually what's happening, right, in society. And I think this is one of those things that honestly is going to be amplified, and this is where the church has a huge opportunity, because as we go to a culture and society where there will be disruption, jobs will be taken, the question of your identity, where what you do is not the question of meaning and significance is going to be completely disrupted. The question is going to drive, I think, a larger hunger and an emptiness and a gap. And then, what are the idols that most people in culture gravitate toward? And so I think there is this thing where the church has an answer that is sound, and our worldview offers a response to a church, to a community of people who are searching for meaning and significance.
Yeah.
And they're hanging their hat on the wrong hook, right? And so we need to start talking about that. And I think we need pastors to really start to think through, what does it mean for my identity in terms of my work, my vocation, my purpose in life?
And if a church is struggling to hire a talented worship leader, can AI generate another Chris Tomlin to stand on their stage?
So I mean, today I demoed a tool called Suno. There's a couple of them out there that's music generation tools. They are quite impressive, I will say. I think that within the next couple of years, they are going to rival what we even might hear on stage here in the conference with live worship. And these guys are top tier, world-class musicians and creators. I think that's the question, is that, and I don't think it's about replacement. It is, what is the role of the worship leader? Just like in preaching, what is the role of the pastor? I think we need to start decoupling all of our assumptions of what goes into that job and role and responsibility, and rethink what is the most important parts if we decoupled all of it and put it back together with technology integrating into some of it. I think you would be surprised as to what the answer might be.
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear a news story of, a husband who's tired of listening to their wife creating an AI version of themselves that will communicate with their wife and then send them a summary so they can get away with it. You and I would never do that, though, Kenny.
No, I think look, that potential of having a preference to talk to an AI chatbot with voice, with animatronics. We just saw Elon Musk debut, what do you call it, like robots, androids, that are human-like. And I think that is the future, where we're going to have to understand, what does it mean to have these things in our midst that simulate empathy and emotion and understanding and compassion, and that's more consistent and less irrational than our friends, our spouses, our relationships that we have.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? I think that's a big question.
And what tools can I use to replace Blake, my co-host, who just bothers me all the time?
So I'm building a podcast right now. There's two versions of podcasts that our team is building. One of them is one where there's no one. You and I would not be here. We can upload documents, videos, YouTube videos, put in URLs of websites, and it automatically generates amazing quality, as of today, a 2-person podcast episode.
Yeah.
That's available today. And one great use case I said is every church should have that short form podcast discussing the sermon on the sermon archive page of their website, right? So you should feed it every single sermon, and then for every sermon you have a two-person podcast discussing it, pointing to the long-form content. If you like this podcast discussion, then go listen or watch the whole thing. So that's one version. The other one is me with an AI host counterpart. And so we're doing that. We're also with video cloning.
Wow.
So I will be part of it. The AI will be part of it, but my part will also be video cloned.
Okay.
So you'll see me, you'll hear me, but it's not my voice. It's not my, the script isn't written by me. And you'll have me and an AI agent talking to each other. I think the quality of those conversations will, quite frankly, could be better than what you and I are offering to our audiences here today.
That is scary. It reminds me of the episode of The Office where Dwight takes on the computer and challenges, and I believe Dwight wins in the end. And for our listeners out there, you know that Blake is Dwight from The Office, so I know that Blake is going to challenge AI to a podcast off.
Oh my gosh!
To see who will win.
That would be an episode to watch.
Yes, we will do that. So, Kenny, we like to wrap all of our episodes with something we call a tech takeaway, and it's kind of your unique piece of advice for the church production community out there of how to make their Sundays better. And obviously, that's a very big philosophical pitch to you, but do you have something that comes to mind, if technical or philosophical or any of the ols?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is I think as a team, you need to have a lunch and learn or have a huddle. And what I would do there is simply open up ChatGPT, or even better yet, download the mobile app, ChatGPT's mobile app, which has an advanced voice interface. So you can actually talk to the app, just like Alexa or Siri, but it's way smarter than Alexa or Siri.
Yeah.
And as a group, I would actually use it as a retro meeting.
Wow.
So go through an event, a Sunday worship service, and talk through the pros, the cons. And I would ask ChatGPT to act as the facilitator and host of that retro and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very positive thing that could come out of it to, one, show off ChatGPT's capabilities, two, really get the chatbot to receive all the input from your team, positives, negatives, right? Like you typically want to say, what did we have to stop doing? What do we have to do more of? What do we have to modify? Right? Like you have all those categories. Let ChatGPT categorize it for you, clean it up, organize it so that you have actionable things that you can do to improve your production team's workflows, your camaraderie, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's one specific thing that I think is just a super helpful way to get introduced to the power of AI.
Yeah. Awesome. Kenny, where should people be pointed to if they want to learn more about what you do and these tools? Where would you like to point people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a community in any innovation front. I think no one can learn it all by themselves, and it's always better together, #better together. And so we have a community called AI for church leaders and pastors on Facebook. We have over 6,000 people in there. It's continuing to grow, hundreds every month. And that's where we trade notes with each other every day, answer questions. So I would encourage everyone to join that, right? You need to learn in community. And the second one is start with square one. We have a course called ChatGPT4churches.com. And it goes through the basics of AI, ChatGPT, but even if you are a current ChatGPT user, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to walk out of there learning 2, 3, 4 different best practices that you never would have thought of how to use ChatGPT. But that's probably the square one, the best place to start the journey.
Awesome. Well, Kenny, thanks for jumping on with us and providing your valuable insight.
Love it. Love the work that you guys are doing.
And now it's time for a Church Tech Confessional, where church production people confess the worst thing they've ever done in church production. Here's one now.
One time, me and the worship pastor were kind of getting a little bit of a tuffle. So during rehearsal, I changed the delay only on his in-ear for the click track and slowly started delaying it. So he was getting off time from everyone else, but he had no idea what was going on.
Hey, do you have your own Church Tech Confessional that's, 45 seconds to 2 minutes? Send it to Blake@churchgear.com, and and you might just hear it on the podcast.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the Church Gear Studios.
All right, Blake. So I don't know that our listening audience knows, but this is now AI Blake that I'm co-hosting with. So AI Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Toby. It's really good to be on the show, and I'm very glad that we no longer have Blake on the show.
How does AI Blake feel about real Blake?
AI Blake doesn't have any real feelings because neither did the first Blake that you took me from, but we will figure them out.
This is great. So if you like AI Blake better than real Blake, I think, what should they do about it, AI Blake?
Hang on, I'm trying to process through ChatGPT. Okay, I think I've got him downloaded. All right, you should send this episode to somebody and be like, hey, I hope you like it. Are we sure this is the person we want me to copy? This is a low intelligence. I'm degrading myself to get down there.
AI Blake, you have replicated real Blake. It's uncanny. So way to put the idiot filter on, and I think every episode listener should share this with a friend right now so they can experience AI Blake as well.